everyone. Welcome to the stream. This is Toot Talks with Terry.
I still petition for a name change. The only one who's getting fucking doxxed here.
Eh. I'm Took, or Doug, or Tukadian. Terry is Terry. And then we're joined today by our lovely cosplaying friend, Shay, or Uncultured Teacup. So yeah, this is our podcast, Two Talks with Terry. We just basically take friends and creators whose work we enjoy and just talk to them about the stuff they love. So, if you have any questions for people, sure you throw them into the chat. All right. So, Jay, first thing that I wanted to ask for you. Also, thank you for being here. I appreciate coming on my rambly ass podcast. And
thanks for thinking interesting enough to come, honestly.
I mean, we had Brian on here, so.
Yeah. But, yeah, so first thing I wanted to ask, though, was, because I've never actually asked you in person, why Uncultured Teacup? Where'd the name come from?
When I was in high school, I was in an art class, and me and a friend got in a fight because she drew mustaches all over my artwork. And she got real mad at me because I called her a bad name. So she called me an uncultured teacup because it was the only thing she could think of to insult me in front of the teacher. And when I went to go make my Instagram account like 6 years later, it was literally the only thing I could think of that was quirky enough to not be stupid, I guess.
It's actually pretty great.
I like it. I think it's cute. It works.
Yeah.
What did you call this person to elicit this response?
Look, that's not important. This isn't
No,
about...
no. This is a safe place where we can say the bad words. We need to know what was said.
I can't remember exactly what I said to her, but she's really short compared to me, and I definitely went at her for that kind of thing.
As a short person, I could see that. I could see someone doing that.
She drew mustaches on my Paul McCartney drawing. I don't know what I had to choose violence. That was pretty much the only option.
That's fair.
I love that. She drew mustaches on my Paul McCartney drawing.
At least you just called her a name. Randy Newman went and wrote a whole song about how short people got no reason to live. So you're just calling people names, and that's a pretty good line to stop at, I think.
Compared to Randy Newman, I think I'm a good person compared to that. That's a lot of dedication.
There you go.
Oh no, where'd my camera go? Camera. Okay.
It's probably right in front of you, Doug.
I did ask for that. I swear I'm good at things. You wouldn't know it. All right. Yeah, no, I had to put. Apparently, my computer does not like when I open other stuff at all.
So, Doug, I got a question for you to start things off.
Sure.
Where is your fucking costume? This is the cosplay stream.
Look, we've got Princess Zelda. We've got the Polar Bear referee. And
no, it's not the Polar Bear referee today. It's just Ref Terry. Polar Bear onesies on the bed.
Right. And then today I dressed up and I'm wearing my best and onlyest plaid.
You could be cosplaying a Canadian. I mean, you are, but it works.
You can't cosplay what you are. That's just... He's a rural Canadian. He's dressed as what he is.
What if he's slightly differently dressed than his usual Canadian attire? Then does it fit into...
Yeah,
if he didn't dress like that every stream, then I might be able to follow you up on that.
My cosplay is below the waist, okay? I just didn't feel comfortable showing it on the stream.
Doug's got a butt plugging confirmed, ladies and gentlemen.
So,
how long is the tail, Doug? How long is the tail?
It's stretched out because it keeps getting caught in the wheels in the chair. You know how it is. So, one of the things I was going to ask is, how long have you been cosplaying? What actually got you into it?
think I've been cosplaying for like 12 or 13 years at this point. I got into it because of Helsing. I bought a Ceres Victoria cosplay from eBay, put it on, and hated it so much that I almost never cosplayed again. It was terrible. It was the biggest train wreck I've ever seen. But I guess it was like such a train wreck that it kind of like pushed me to try harder.
Oh, yeah.
And now it only took 13 years, but 13 years later, and Ceres is like one of my best costumes that I really enjoy. So that's how I got into it. I just really loved the big tittied police girl from Helsing Ultimate. So
Well, that was didn't your updated Ceres cosplay get featured in a magazine, wasn't it?
yeah, it was in Cosplay Realm magazine. The S&J Studios were the ones who did the photos for us. And it came out so good. I was so happy.
It's kind of awesome though that you went from taking the cosplay that almost made you never cosplay again to being featured in a magazine with the same character.
Yeah, it's quite it gave me a big confidence boost. I think not that my cosplay work wasn't valid before that, but it's different to be validated by people outside of your group kind of thing. Like of course your friends and family are going to be supportive, but to have someone from like an outside aspect be like, no, this is really good, it should be in a magazine, it kind of like skyrocketed my urge to do better, I guess.
Yeah, 100%. But and then you get like your the real feeling of like a cosplay glow up, really.
Yeah, those are my favorite things to do, is taking like the worst photo of me in existence and then comparing it with like a really, really nice photo in cosplay.
That is pretty awesome. Yeah, I don't have a lot of good pictures of me. As you can tell, the camera loves me anyway, so it's not. But yeah, fucking the light is killing me today.
I get it, Doug. I don't have very many pictures of me that I enjoy either.
What's the
Like, I
what's
get it.
what's the polar bear onesie he was talking about? I feel like I'm left out, and
It is on my bed. Like, I wasn't joking. It's like a little. There's like the hood.
and you're not
I think
wearing
I
you
see.
you're
This
not
is
wearing
this is a
it. You
stream.
put it
This is a stream bit. This is my stream bit, and like he got this for 2 days in a row.
it's
Uh,
cute.
Well, Terry,
what?
come on. Obviously, you need to show off the onesie. Proper.
Where's your
I think,
costume, Doug? Where's your costume, Doug?
I told you.
and okay,
I'll
if not
talk. I'll change if you change. We could do that. We could take the time. We could take 5 minutes. We could do a quick change. I'll change. You change.
if not for Doug, can you do it for me, since I haven't been exposed to the beauty of
Oh,
the
God
please?
damn it! I'm not even getting the 10,000 channel points for this or anything. Not the channel points are worth anything. No. Yeah. I can absolutely do this. Give me like 2 seconds.
Yeah, peer pressure.
Love peer pressure for us. Fabulous. Oh, he's got a
Excellent.
little pink crown too. What's the crown?
Oh, you have to ask when he gets back. He's got some really nice stories about stuff on his shelves. But I like his barrel of fucks that he's got.
That's awesome.
Oh, Mac said then I should be cosplaying as Zardoz. Like, no.
No, I don't want to.
I know Sarah'd love to see me in the old wrestling singlet. Bust that out.
Is that the one that she yearly shares to? Yeah. I look forward to it every year, Doug. I'm not going to lie.
So, while Terry's getting changed, what's there it is.
Yeah.
Is full of ice water. I'm so damn happy because my God, is it hot in this fucking thing under the lights?
I love it. It's fantabulous.
It's so hot in this thing under the lights.
I made him a little like polar bear referee figure to play in our next game.
He looks like
Aw.
a werewolf. Not even gonna lie.
What's the what's the little pink crown that I saw in your background, Terry? I'm curious.
Little birthday bitch crown. I'd put that on too if you want.
Oh my god, yes. This is fantastic.
Actually, I don't know if it'll stay with everything. I could try. We'll see. We'll see how long we can keep this going.
If-
Sorry for everyone who's listening to this in the audio version of the podcast and not getting any of the actual nonsense that's going on screen.
If
Worth it.
nothing else good happens to me for the next month and a half, what you
Uh-huh.
have going on right now will glide me right through it.
Whoa. Thumbs up, ringing endorsement for all.
So, Anna Maritimes is next week, right?
Yeah,
So,
the week after.
week after? Okay, yeah,
I think-
no. This week's Fog City, right. So, what are your plans for the convention?
So Friday we're gonna go in our Call of Duty group. We have I'm going as Ghost. We have a Captain Price, um, Soap McTavish, and then we have Kolnig, who's just a random operator, I guess, but everyone loves him, so we have that. Saturday I'm gonna go as Zelda in the morning, and halfway through I'm gonna switch into Dobby and get all the burn scars going. And then Sunday I might do Misa Amane from Death Note. It depends how burnt out and hungover I am at that point, I think.
Sounds like a pretty good lineup, though.
Yeah, I think it's probably one of the first years that I've had like a full, very diverse lineup of things. Usually I just kind of only have one or two costumes, but I kind of went ham over COVID and now I just have a surplus of costumes to get out.
So, without throwing things that are behind the scenes too far under the bus, what is your budget range for your cosplays generally? Like, I know that they range drastically and that some budget cosplays exist that look great. I've seen some that, are obviously budget cosplays. And then you see the ones that are like super high end and it's like any dress. It's like, you see the dress and you go, wow, that's a really nice dress. And you're like, that's a $10,000 dress. And you're like, it's not that nice.
Yeah. So yeah, like you said, it totally depends on what I'm doing. If I find like anime specifically, the costumes tend to be cheaper. I don't know what it is. When I get into gaming, like Zelda, COD, stuff like that, the price like jumps drastically. It doesn't have to. It's just I'm really anal about like my costumes being completely like in-game accurate. So
Yeah, I would.
um
That's why I'm not big on dressing up. Like I usually, as a kid, I usually didn't even do Halloween. But like if I was going to cosplay, I'm a big Halo fan, so like I feel that I would want to do very genuine Spartan armor, and I'm just in my head, I'm like, shit.
that's a lot.
Yeah.
And like and of course like no shade to people who are on a budget, like up
No, not at
until
all.
probably the last like 3 years I didn't have the money to do like big elaborate cosplays. Ghost was about $900 total, and the Zelda one that I'm half wearing right now was I think 1400 total by the time I got through everything. So but I do like Dobby, even though there's a lot into Dobby from My Hero, it's only like 4 or 5, and I know that's still high, but comparable to like the costumes that I'm doing now, it's very low.
Oh, well, no, but you have to realistically, you have to look at cosplay in the same way you look at technology. You have to look at the amount of money you're spending for what you're getting. So it's like that $500, like it sounds like it is still a lot of money, but comparatively to the rest of the cosplay world, it is still quite inexpensive to a lot
Yeah,
of things.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Oh, so what would you say your top 3 cosplays are that you've done at this point?
Number one is Zelda,
You've
absolutely.
gotten some such fantastic shots with it.
Oh, like and like SNJ Studios, like they did a very like my Zelda's not completely in-game accurate because I wanted it to fit like a Victorian aesthetic so that when we did photos it would look like actual royalty. And that's like a big part of some of the costumes that I do is transferring what it looks like in game over into how it would look realistic in life, I guess, if that makes sense, taking little things and changing them. But they were able to get such a Victorian, like queen princess aesthetic out of the photos. It was fantastic. So Zelda's my favorite. Like, I've wanted to cosplay Zelda since I was like a little itty bitty fetus for the most part. I just never had like the skills or means to do it.
Mm-hmm.
My second favorite one is probably Ghost right now, just because I don't usually get to do costumes that are like full tactical gear, like just really fun stuff like that. And then I guess my third one is, I mean, honestly, it's probably between Dobby and Misa right now, just because I'm kind of going through a phase with both of them. So
I like that going through a phase. And just
well,
picture like your Misa like putting on like dark eyeliner. Like you just don't understand, Dubby.
it's not a phase, Mom, okay?
Gonna be like this forever and ever and ever.
Everyone knows that your personality at 14 is the one you pick for the rest of your life, okay?
Just like cuts to a photo of me in the car with my mom, her taking me to Hot Topic. It's not a phase.
You know, but the unironic thing being that so many people like our age would go into Hot Topic and shop in Hot Topic.
Look, I'm not even gonna lie.
Biped.
I spent big money at Hot Topic. I didn't grow out of the emo phase. I just learned how to make it look like less of a train wreck when I put it on.
So living where I lived, I didn't have a Hot Topic in my city.
Are you in like a small town?
No, like I was in a city of like a couple 100,000 people. We just didn't have a Hot Topic. We had a Spencer's Gifts, no Hot Topic. What in the fuck, you Torrent? You can fuck right off. I am having a conversation with people right now. Suck a
Yes,
dick.
Terry, are you pirating things?
Harry.
Yes.
I
I am.
absolutely am.
You know what? You know what the truth is that uTorrent is just really, really good for YouTube to MP4.
Fair.
I no longer have to find a third-party site that does it. I could just plug it into uTorrent and torrent the thing I'm allowed to torrent download anyway.
Huh, I didn't know it did that. I'm gonna have to look into that.
uTorrent came after LimeWire, right? Because I remember
Oh, yeah.
using both, but LimeWire was like more viruses than it was
Yeah.
downloading anything.
Yeah. We had oh shit, what was the other good one that almost bricked my parents' computer? Kazaa. So Kazaa was like just before LimeWire, like a year or two before that, and the amount of viruses that my parents' computer got, just it. I remember what it did was it would duplicate like the names of files that were already on your computer as movie files that were like the length of a movie. So it was like 700 megabytes or so, and it just completely filled their computer. Like, so you couldn't even
Funny.
turn it on. It was amazing.
I just picture them like thinking you're up to some real nefarious like looking at pornography stuff, and it's really just you trying to download the first season of One Piece or something like that. Like
it was the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man that did it.
oh my.
No, so sorry, before you Torrent interrupted, the big thing for me is like we had the Spencer's Gifts, we had no Hot Topic. Until I want to say 7 or 8 years ago, we finally got one. So whenever I'm at the mall, how am I not gonna I never got to as a teenager. Might as well fucking get it in now.
It's the time for you to live your best Hot Topic life now.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, not that I was ever into like wearing band shirts or anything like that, but at least I can still experience the store.
Like Hot Topic has like a pretty wide variety too. Like they like definitely for their band shirts, but you can get like some pretty spicy, like not saying Terry that you're looking for spicy lingerie, but you can get like some spicy lingerie and like skirts
So
and
here
dresses.
like the lingerie, that's in Spencer's. That's not a
Really?
Hot Topic thing. That is a Spencer's Gifts thing. Spencer's Gifts has all the dildos and all that cool
Yeah.
stuff in the back. Yeah, but they've like all the lingerie and stuff. Like you might find the occasional like shortish skirt or dress in Hot Topic here, at least in my city. Like, because I'm sure they're all franchised out. They get to choose what they bring in or whatever.
Right.
But at least here, like for the most part, like all that's in the Spencers.
Lame.
Yeah. So I was gonna
Our
ask.
teens find a way to look the way they look without Hot Topic being involved. Don't worry.
So talking about conventions, seeing as how you got one coming up, what would you say is the best part of the conventions for you?
Honestly, like walking around in places where the convention isn't and just interacting with people. I I love being in like super obscure weird costumes around people who don't know about the convention, and I like filming TikToks or just doing like really like goofball stuff in front of people. I like because I don't know about like I've seen other people, you know, when sometimes when people film TikToks and they're kind of like in the way or they're taking up a lot of, we don't like doing that, but just to like film really wholesome TikToks where people can look over and see you doing some like major goofball shit. It just brings me a level of happiness that nothing else does. And like getting to see your friends and like hang out with them and just having a place to showcase your costumes. Because like when we go out and do photo shoots, that's awesome too. Like you definitely still get to interact, but it's different when you're on like a big level with other cosplayers too. It's just the whole environment of it is really like special, I guess.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do. I do like seeing like Fredericton around when Anime Times kicks off because you just see it's like an explosion of nerd downtown, and I fucking love it.
Yeah, exactly.
So
And
have you been
people
doing have you been doing the convention thing since you were like a kid?
Yeah. When I did that very first Sarah's costume, that was for a convention. That's kind of
But
what
I
got
mean,
me into
even before cosplay, like, were you going to conventions before you started cosplaying? Because like I've never made like I'm a couple hours from Fan Expo. I've never really made a point of going.
it. Right.
So
Um,
like, were you just a big convention person and a big anime person before cosplay, and that just jump started it as well?
I was really big into anime, but I had never been to a convention before. I
Okay.
think the cosplay actually kind of like got me to go to the convention because I wanted people to see it. And then
Okay.
after that, I've just never stopped. Like ever, excusing COVID, of course, but every single year I've just gone. So it kind of like a domino effect of nerdom just kind of
Mm-hmm.
came over me.
Nice, nice. So it like you've been cosplaying at every convention you've ever gone to. That is just awesome.
Yeah, as soon as I started going to conventions, I was like, okay, well, I guess we're making costumes now. Better learn.
That is awesome. Yeah, for people in the audience who don't know, like that's actually where I met Sarah was at the Anime Times, which goes off in two
You,
weeks.
am
Uh,
am I allowed to bring up that the marriage thing, the
oh
proposal
yeah,
that you
100%.
it was so cute.
Yeah,
Like,
go ahead.
well, like you and Sarah went up on stage, didn't you? Or like Sarah didn't know that it was gonna happen, and you
No.
got
Yeah, no, she didn't know at all, which was great. Um, so what happened was I met her the year that I met her. We brought I brought my daughter down, and she had just started getting into anime, and I was like, "Oh, hey, you enjoy anime? We're watching Fairy Tale together at the time, so like, let's go to Anime Times that just started this week, and we'll see if we can spot any of your favorite characters to take a picture with, kind of deal." And then we met Sarah and Bella at a plushie like making sort of panel because
yeah.
because Bucky said that they wanted to, or that they knew how to sew and they could teach us and everything. But just ended up talking to Sarah for like an hour, and then when we left, asked if we could get together, started dating. Like 2 or 3 weeks after that, I think after the flood, when we could finally get a date. Although Sarah didn't know it was a date. Um, and then after a year, decided I was like, yeah, no, this is the one. So I wanted to propose, and I wanted to propose where I met her, and talked to the event organizers and everything, and got them to get me on during the what's the name of the cosplay competition? Why can I not think of it?
It's not the Masquerade, is it?
The Masquerade. Yeah, that was
Yeah.
it. Yeah. So when the Masquerade was happening during the intermission, I was to come out, take the host hostage because I was dressed as Joker, and then get my goons to bring up Sarah so I could propose to her. And her goons being our friends Jamie and Nick, who I gave them my toy guns when I left to use to bring her up, and yeah, so the entire way, because I had been setting this up all day, so she was kind of pissed already because I was gone all day and she just wanted to hang out with me, but I just kept like ducking off into dark corners to set this up. And then in the middle of the first half of the masquerade, I went off so I could find my place backstage, and she's like, "And he's been gone all day," and then looked and like. Nothing clicked until I actually walked out on stage, and then she was just like internally like, "You motherfucker," because just hates PDA or any sort of public shit. And then I got my goons to bring her up, and as she was going up, you can see her the entire time like mouthing like, I hate you so much." And yeah, then I proposed, but I proposed to her with a ring that I had made out of those perler beads. So it was a pixel diamond.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Here, babe, it's the biggest rock I could afford." And that won her over. So she went from homicide to charmed. So
Gonna say, it sounds like you're lucky you didn't get a no on the spot and then a yes later.
Yeah.
Because it sounds like she's cold-blooded enough to throw out the no in public.
You're playing a dangerous game, Doug.
Still
I like
homicidal.
I like to live dangerously. But yeah, so that was now I'd been to one convention before that one, and that was Fan Expo. That was my friend Jules. But yeah, that was the first like convention really that I spent any real time at. Because for me, when I went to Fan Expo, I spent like 90% of it just wandering around Artist Alley talking to the artists and shit. So there's so many talented people at these conventions, and you just want to buy it all.
Oh, absolutely.
Sounds like you might want to start looking over your shoulder, Doug.
Uh,
Looking at chat. I'm looking at chat. You might want to start looking over your shoulder. Sleep with one eye open tonight, boy.
Mhm. So, what's your favorite part of Artist Alley at the conventions? Like, where do you gravitate towards?
Kind of just everywhere, to be like you said, there's so many crazy talented people in Artist Alley. Like, I guess I don't know, I like it all. Like, I'm one of those people who like plasters their entire wall with art from conventions and stuff like that. The plushies, like and just meeting the people who make the nerd stuff. They're all so talented at what they do, and I just wish I could throw thousands of dollars at every single one of them because they deserve it so much. When we went to Freddie Beach Fan Expo, there was a man who was writing World War II comics. That was called like Mud and Madness, and it was about, if you guys are familiar with the Swedish metal band Sabaton, who
Oh
do
yeah,
like only, yeah, it was based off of one of Sabaton's songs, and I'm such a sucker for World War II anything being put into like comic form, anime form, like, but I don't see it very often. And to see it at the convention was just really, really exciting for me. So I love finding like niche things like that that you can't really find anywhere else.
yeah. My same one that I got for Sarah, the Shakespeare fighter is like Street Fighter
Yeah,
2, but Shakespeare characters.
yeah.
Like, yeah, seeing that kind of shit is just awesome.
I still need Shakespeare Star Wars.
Oh yes, the
Oh,
we had Brian on here, and there is a book. There's a 9-book series where each book is
Yeah, each movie
Star
has been
Wars.
novelized by into Shakespearean for Star Wars.
It's so
That is
good.
so cool.
Yeah. I'd have to pull up Brian's podcast so that I could, or the podcast with Brian, so we could see what the name of it was again. But it was, man, it was so.
I was just
Cool.
say I wound up going and looking them up while we were live and naming them all. Brian
Okay.
has, I think he only has A New Hope.
Yeah. So, speaking of like weird genres and stuff that you don't normally see, um, so you said like you're a sucker for seeing anything World War II. For me, it's World War One. I love seeing when World War One stuff is covered, and or we're seeing like that um, the feel of World War One, like the trench warfare and hopelessness and everything.
Yeah.
Like I find they capture it really well in Warhammer 40k. Um,
Yeah.
there was a scene in the comic book series Saga that was like trench warfare with like anthropomorphic hamster people and stuff, and it was fucking great. Um, but what's your favorite like weird World War II crossover that you've seen then?
So I guess this doesn't fall into like anime or anything, but I found a World War, I believe it was World War II era movie about soldiers who went to like an abandoned asylum or school or something, and then ghosts started like haunting them and stuff. I think it's that. I was speaking to I have a Russian teacher that I take lessons with like usually every week, and when I told him about it, I was like, yeah, I'm so excited, this war movie about ghosts in World War II. And he just kind of looked at me and he was like, why do you guys have to make everything scarier? Like, war is scary enough. You don't need to add ghosts. What's wrong with you? And that never really occurred to me until he pointed it out. But yeah, that.
Yeah, that is.
Yeah, a lot of those like World War II zombie like SS officers and stuff like
Yeah.
that coming back and like I've seen so many different versions of like under like they found it under the ice or whatever. It's like hidden Nazi base
Yeah.
or like whatever. You never know. It's some ridiculous thing. Uh, Call of Duty comes to mind as a great crossover for that era in doing horror stuff. I think my favorite has to be Kung Fury.
Oh, Kung Fury was so good.
I think going back and killing Mecha Hitler with Hacker Man, I think that has to be my favorite.
I'm gonna have to watch Kung Fury again. It was just so good.
Wolfenstein's another great crossover for that era too, especially when they do like their alternate timeline stuff. The like a lot of that was really really cool.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
so on the topic of Wolfenstein, I played Wolfenstein originally on the Nintendo 64, and then I didn't hear anything about it all the way up until Wolfenstein New Order, and it was incredibly jarring to remember like pixelated Hitler dissolving into goo, and then you had like New Order. It was crazy.
You know,
Yeah.
you can run that game like the original version of that game on like a T84 calculator. No lie. I've seen videos. It's ridiculous. That game is optimized to all hell. It is insane. And Max Ray, I'm sorry, I got it wrong. Their bases, the Nazi bases, always on the moon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Always on the moon.
Nazis on the dark side of the moon, where they have their secret super shark soldiers.
Super shark.
I
That's
read
from
this. I read this
Shark Side
fake
of the
news
Moon.
article.
It's so good.
I read this fake news article the other day, and it like I got to the end, and I was like, sure as shit, this is satire, right? Like, thank God they listed it as satire at the bottom, because you know there's some people out there that'll believe anything. And it was about the Russians being in Antarctica and digging under the ice and finding like this massive octopus type creature that was just
Yeah.
hyper intelligent.
It's like
And
42
I read,
6B or something. Yeah.
yeah, I'm pretty sure I shared it in your Discord, and I
Mm-hmm.
was like, this would actually make for like a really interesting horror series. It was like The Descent, but 10 times better.
Yeah. Yeah, it was really interesting. And it came from the ocean, which is my number one fear. So,
It
Just
technically came from a lake.
still.
Just saying.
Which one do you guys think is actually more scary, the ocean or space?
Ocean.
Um,
Space, I can see
Space.
it coming from far enough away.
But
That's not how that works, Chuck.
it never ends though. Like it's ever expanding.
Like,
I think for me it's got to be space personally because there is so much less exploration of space
Yeah.
than there is of the oceans. Like I realize how little of the ocean we have explored. That is still a terrifying thought to me. But the fact that we've explored so much less of space and like we have no clue what's going to happen in space. We have no control over what happens in
Yeah.
space. We've proven we have control over the oceans to some degree. Fuck you. We brought global warming.
see, for me, it's a proximal threat. Like, yeah, sure, space is up there, but the ocean's over there. Like, it can come get me at any time.
But a
The
big
ocean
wait,
could come get me at any time.
Tsunami,
Space
Terry,
could
it could
come get
happen.
you, but space could get you any time.
Space already
a,
has us.
a big old asteroid could just definitely come by tomorrow and make it your problem.
Fair, fair. I'm
Like if
more.
our star explodes tomorrow,
We'll be gone in like 9 minutes, and then we don't get to worry about it.
I guess that's the one benefit of space. Everything that can kill us in space is kind of like an immediate
Yeah, I mean,
turns us into a fight.
you're dealing with
I don't.
suns exploding, black holes,
I was gonna
asteroids,
say, but I prefer
Galactus.
not to deal with spaghettification.
Don't
Like
even
I don't want to
go
be
there. Okay.
spaghettified. It's not. It's not on my to-do list. Like vaporization is up here. Spaghettification, like all the way. Like just. I'm gonna start here, and then we're just gonna go all the way off camera, just all the way down, like to the floor. Not
I
interested in being spaghettified.
I genuinely couldn't believe that spaghettification was an actual scientific word until I looked it up, and I was blown away by it.
Uh,
Do you want to be spaghettified, Doug? Huh?
Do you want to be a noodle?
No.
Well, I mean, it just good time to take a drink, buddy. Good time to take a drink.
Yep. So, I'm gonna jump back. You said your Russian teacher. There was a lot of people didn't know that that you're studying Russian. Like that you've been doing it what, like 3-4 years now?
Going on 8, actually.
Jeez, yeah.
Yeah, I think I started just outside of high school. Um, I tried like Duolingo and stuff like that. I have the attention span of a dead weasel. I cannot teach myself anything if there's not a teacher like watching me. So I found him on this weird, I can't even remember the name of the website anymore because we don't use it, but I just happened to find this like random language website. It was set up like a dating website where you could like go through and see photos of your tutor and like the qualifications and what they do. And I picked Alexander because he looked the most like a Russian supervillain from a game I played. And it worked out great. He's a lovely man. But yeah,
You took the Bond villain out of the bunch.
through and through Bond villain vibes. And he has such I don't want to say like a dry sense of humor, but he is very like deadpan, even though he's hilarious and he's super funny. It just took like a hot minute for me to get used to his very like deadpanness. But that's what I love about him. It's exactly like you said, Bond villain through and through.
Love it.
So, why Russian?
I
Like,
was
sorry, like I know most people have like like it's a familial tie if they want to learn a language, or like there's some like people who like anime that they'll often learn Japanese so they don't have to watch sub stuff anymore.
yeah.
Why Russian?
I guess it's kind of similar to like the like anime nerds kind of. I was stupid into World War II history, specifically like the Russian and German side because I feel like we didn't get very much of that in school. So I started like looking into this World War II history, and even though everything is translated over from Russian, you lose a lot of context and emotion when you translate it, kind of thing. So I was like, oh well, I'll just learn Russian and then I'll be able to read all the stuff I want to. Like I collect like military documents and medals and stuff like that. And I kind of just wanted to be able to read it for what it was instead of what we translated it to.
Right on.
That's
Yeah.
really, really cool. Like that's not the answer I was expecting at all. Like, but I love the answer.
So
Did you have a theory as to what the answer would be? I'm curious.
I mean, you mentioned your love for World War II. So that was in the back of my mind. Not so much the fascination of that side of it, and that being the 100% driving force. I figured
Right.
that could be like a nice little tie-in for everything.
Or just some
But
really weird niche Russian anime that you were just super into,
again, like
like
you never really know.
Comrade Hero Academia. Like,
Or like especially in like the modern age, like I know a lot of people who have considered learning Chinese because like the way Chinese media portrays information is very different than the way other states portray their media. It's very much the same in Russia. So
Yep.
like I know a lot of people who are just big on world events who again because you lose things in translation with almost any language, they wanted to learn Russian to try and keep up better with what kind of information they're putting out, as opposed to just like when you watch Western media, there's always going to be our spin on it,
Yes.
always. So they want what's being said directly from the source so that they can suss whatever for themselves.
They can get all the sides and kind of come to their own conclusion.
Yeah.
see,
For
the one language I'd want to relearn that I knew a bit of was Dari, because so Dari is a dialect of Farsi that's and like kind of like Arabic that's spoken in northern Afghanistan,
Mhm.
and I love the language because it's legitimately just a very interesting language to learn, because it's very mathematical, and like for someone who's like super nerdy in that way, to me it's a language I was like, oh, this was somebody who was like, I want to make a language and I want to make it make sense. They would come up with Dari, whereas English is just a fucking grab bag of whatever. Um,
Cluster.
yeah, Dari is literally like everything in Dari was structured like a radio transmission. Your most important information is first. The least
Mhm.
important information comes at the end of the sentence, and it just
Right.
blah. And so everything is structured that way, where you could get like cut off in the middle of a sentence, and your message would still get across.
Right.
And I really love that. And it was just fun trying to get some of the um, syllables out. Like they were just very interesting sounds to try and work your mouth around. That's
I had
that's
such
up there.
I had such a hard time at first with Russian with like word vomit. Alexander would pronounce a word and even though I knew how I was supposed to say it, like my mouth just like wouldn't. The first thing he taught me was to put my tongue in the back of my throat for some of the things I said and it wouldn't come out. It would just be like a jumbled like word vomit mess until I got used to the sounds.
Mm. I know that was one thing when I was trying to learn Inuktitut, so I could speak with Liz. It was a lot of there was three major sounds that we just don't have in English,
Mhm.
and there were ones that we have that they don't. Like they didn't have the word R, or like the sound for the letter R, just
Yep.
wasn't there. Um, but then they have another one where you just kind of like say it around your tongue almost. It's like a she. Like that's we've got nothing like that. So like trying to wrap my head around that was fucking bizarre, especially because they don't have the R sound, but they say a lot of things that sound like it does, but it's not.
Right.
It's actually more like a back of the mouth L
Mhm.
that sounds like an R, but it's not. It's so super hard.
oh, it's like in some languages you get the hard R that sounds like a D, and you're like, where the fuck did that come
Yeah.
from?
Yeah.
Or and then we're not even gonna like get into like Gaelic or any of that shit where it's like you see a word and it's just like, oh, that looks like it says that, and you think it out in your head, and then you hear Siobhan, and you're like, what? There's
You-
no there's no sh in there.
Yeah. Like you're just making stuff up at this point. Like that's just a language to fuck with tourists. Come on.
I'm almost convinced.
I think it would almost be better if it was specifically designed to fuck with tourists. I appreciate that level of dedication if that was the...
The whole country
If-
gets on board too. It's just like a new flight comes in. Guys, it's time. Just
Like-
turn it on. Turn it on.
If ever there were a people that would do that, it would be the Irish too. That's the thing.
100%.
Yeah.
And the Scottish would help. That's why they get on board with their version too. The
Yeah.
Scottish would absolutely get on board. They'd see it and go, you know what? That's some good shit. Let's get on it.
Yeah.
That's an amazing idea.
Yeah. Abtots could confirm. You'd 100%
I'm sure
do that.
Octi would too.
Yeah.
I think the language I would want to learn if I was going to bother to learn another language would be Italian. I just played way too much Assassin's Creed.
How did
That was my big thing.
I
That
had
was
that
what it
in
was.
the back of my mind that it
Yeah,
was
no.
Assassin's Creed.
So I've shared this story before in various places. I'm pretty sure I've shared it on this podcast before, but I had the chance to take a trip to Europe in high school, and Venice was one of the destinations. And it was super awesome being able to impress my at the time high school girlfriend by being able to navigate Venice without a map or minimal map work, because
Yeah.
there's always small things that change after 100 years of whatever. But minimal map work, and she was just so impressed. She's like, "How did you know?" I didn't have it in me to tell her it was because of hundreds of hours spent in a video game.
Yep.
And it was easily because we got little phrase cards too when we were on our trip, because everyone loves it when you at least attempt to speak the language.
Yeah.
Try. In Italian and German were easily the two that I picked up the fastest. So it was, I think those would be the ones that I'd probably wind up trying to learn.
I like how aggressive German is.
Mm. It's very much in your face. Like I love that the word for butterfly is Schmetterling. Like
Yeah.
it just flows off the tongue.
It just blows off the tongue.
But yeah. So I was gonna jump back to Zelda for a minute. So 2-part question. What is the best Zelda game? But then what's your favorite Zelda game? Because
You're
those
trying to get me canceled, and I don't appreciate that very much, Doug.
those are two very different things. Because
Okay.
For me, I can personally say the best Zelda game is probably, I don't, everyone's really loving Tears of the Kingdom. I haven't seen enough of it to make a judgment, but I would say Breath of the Wild is probably the technically best game. My favorite is the Super Nintendo one. Just hands down, absolutely my favorite. That is a Link to the Past. Not necessarily
Right.
the best.
If you're worried about your answer, I promise you nothing will get you canceled more than my answer.
So my favorite one, I think, just full stop because of nostalgia reasons and stuff, it's either Ocarina of Time or Skyward Sword. Very unpopular opinion was Skyward Sword. A lot of people hated that game. I thought it was beautiful, especially once they ported it over to the Switch and got rid of the motion controls. It just felt better to me.
Mm-hmm.
But the story was really what made me love it so much. So, and then Ocarina of Time was the first Zelda game I ever played. I broke my big brother's big Goron sword, and he absolutely beat the snot out of me for it. It was great. Technically wise, I'd probably agree with you with Breath of the Wild, except Tears of the Kingdom, because I've been neck deep in that for the last 3 weeks, and they took everything good about Breath of the Wild and just added more to it, and kind of brought back some dungeons and without going into it because I don't want to spoil anything for anyone, but it has so much to do. There's so much option. There's the story is amazing. So I'd probably say Tears of the Kingdom, but if we're going by nostalgia bias, Ocarina of Time or Skyward Sword.
Is there a water temple in Tears of the Kingdom?
Yes. So I'm here. I just got to the Ruto part of Tears of the Kingdom. And it looks like I'm about to go into a water temple. I'm only in the first room, and I've already spent 3 hours trying to figure it out. So
Yeah, that's
very
pretty water
reminiscent.
temple.
Yeah, exactly. I'm curious. I'm curious though about what your opinion is, because you're gonna get canceled for it. I'm curious.
Zelda's an overrated series.
Oh,
It is not. You're factually
It
wrong.
is. It is. The stories just usually aren't that compelling, and it's got that big Mario feel of I'm sorry, but your princess is in another castle. And you know what? It's just not a series for me. I respect people who love it. They are very passionate about it, and I never want to take that away from anybody. The artwork always looks great, and I have no problem admitting that. Like, Zelda games are visually striking. But again, the story's just always been lacking for me. It's just an upsetting thing to me.
So just out of curiosity, because you mentioned like you were a really big fan of Assassin's Creed, I've heard a lot of people argue that like Assassin's Creed is overrated because of like some of the repetitiveness. And do you feel that way?
So, oh, 100%. I will be the first person to critique any series I love. My favorite gaming series of all time is Halo 3. Or is Halo 3? Is Halo. Sorry, just as a whole, is Halo. My favorite game being Halo 3. Halo Reach retconned their own written lore. I have novels on my shelf. The game is beautiful, visually striking, changed gameplay forever. How are you, when you take control of a series for the first time, because this was the first time 343 had their hands on the series, Microsoft now owns it, they have put out all the books. How are you going to fuck up your own story with your in-game writing? Spartan 3s do not canonically exist yet you put them on the fucking planet.
Yep.
Because you
Yeah.
play as a Spartan 3. It's written in the books that it is only Spartan 2s on the planet up until the Fall of Reach, and then Halsey and Spartan 2s jump away and find the Spartan 3 project on another planet.
Do you think that was just like a lack of care in terms of kind of like The Witcher, where they didn't want to follow the books and
It
stuff?
could it could be. There's a ton of things it could be. I've never seen anything definitively said. It could be a lack of care. It could be a lack of attention. It could be that they wanted to kind of forge their own story and make their own way. I would totally understand that. Make it known to your longtime fans that it's a reboot,
Right.
not a retelling.
Right. Okay.
And Assassin's Creed, I'd very much say, suffers from a lot of the same problems, especially with their new games. When they went full on open RPG,
Mhm.
they went downhill. Odyssey is a great game. I like the way that they explained your ability to use certain powers you hadn't had before. They gave you a literal piece of Eden that fit the lore. It made a lot of sense, at least in the game. Flash forward to Valhalla, where you can do all these things as a Viking just because you're a Viking. Like, you don't have a piece of Eden. You don't even have you don't have a tie to the assassins. Sure, you've got your Isu DNA or whatever they want to work into the series.
Right.
But again, I'll be the first person to be critical of where a story just doesn't make sense or the gameplay doesn't match up. I'm super hesitant to buy the newest Assassin's Creed, even though they say it's going back to that old timey feel. I want to see gameplay. I want to hear reviews. I don't want pre-alpha footage because I've been lied to by plenty of gaming industry moguls. Here's looking at you, Cyberpunk, and well, I guess we're just throwing Project CD Red under the bus right now, aren't we? Because you mentioned Witcher 3 and their lack of wanting to tell the story.
I don't think we're throwing them under the bus. I think they threw themselves under it, and we just recorded it and are talking about it. Is what
That
it
could
is.
be it. That
Fair,
could be it.
fair, yeah. So, with Zelda, if you were to put Zelda into any other kind of weird genre, what would be your dream weird Zelda game? Like, to
You're
me,
talking like Zelda specifically, like put in it, or like the characters of
the
Zelda?
characters of Zelda, or if you wanted to, like, because Zelda's always been, with the one exception of the Dynasty Warriors kind of deal, Hyrule Warriors, have all been the same kind of genre, same kind of deal. Um, Mine, I think it would be really good as like a kart racer, car combat kind of thing, like Twisted Metal,
Oh yeah,
Twisted Zelda. I think that
yeah.
would be fucking dope.
So I have to ask before we get another answer, are fighter games just eliminated with the addition of Link and Zelda and Smash Bros? Because
Um,
they're technically in a fighter series, or like can we keep the idea of a holy Zelda fighter on the table?
I'd say we can keep it on the table if you did something different with it. If it was just like
Okay.
Street Fighter reskinned with Zelda thing, like then you're just playing Street Fighter with Zelda like special characters, right?
Yeah.
But if you did something special with it to make it stand out as a different type of fighter, then sure.
Okay.
I'd almost be down to. So I was watching a lot of interview. Are you guys familiar with Link's crossbow training?
Oh yeah, on the old
Wii?
Ocarina of Time. The
Oh, I have
It
seen
was
it.
like the
Yeah.
Ocarina of Time mini game that they put on the Wii, basically.
Yeah, when they released the Wii Zapper
Mhm.
gun, I think it's Miyamoto. He wanted to release a game with it, and that's how we got Link's crossbow training. And there was a lot of discourse between Miyamoto and the people actually designing the game, because Miyamoto wanted it to be like a first-person shooter that focuses on your abilities, your crossbow, and stuff like that, whereas the people developing the game felt that there had to be a story in it to make it appeasing to Zelda fans.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think it landed on like a middle ground. I think if we stuck Zelda in a first-person shooter and then didn't add story, it wouldn't be anything. But Link's crossbow training, like, even though it's just like a goofy little thing to teach you how to use the Wii Zapper, I really enjoyed it. I liked the idea of having Link as a first person, and I know Ocarina of Time was originally supposed to be a first person vibe, I think. So I'd be curious to see them like capitalize on that and actually make that happen to Miyamoto's like full what he wanted it to be, I guess.
So would you want it like full open world, or like as open world as a first person shooter gets? Like Call of Duty, you're still on a not on rails, but you're on a path. I would say.
But you could look at something like Borderlands. That's like a first-person RPG,
Yeah,
like a
Yeah,
first-person shooter RPG.
that would be
I don't
dope.
think I'd want it to be like Call of Duty. So I've always played Call of Duty Zombies. I've played that for years. I only recently really got into playing the COD campaigns. I don't do the online. I'm trash at first person shooters.
World War II is a amazing Call of Duty campaign if you have not played it.
Right. So
World at War is also one that I highly recommend.
I have played World at War. I just finished Modern Warfare 2. I'm halfway through Cold War. And then, like you said, I've heard rave reviews about World War 2. Uh, um, I forget what the point of that. Oh yeah, I find, but the one, like, my one critique with Call of Duty, and it's probably just because I've been playing a lot of like really big open world games. The game pushes you through really, really fast, and I kind of felt the need that, oh, I need to go explore to collect stuff, but then I would just run into an invisible wall or like a box that for whatever reason I can't jump over. So I wouldn't want it to be that linear, but I also wouldn't want it to be like Breath of the Wild scale
Yeah,
first person kind of thing.
you could use the Call of Duty formula to get some really cool set pieces. Like,
Yeah.
but yeah, you wouldn't want it like on rails, really. Or
I,
then you might as well put Link in a minecart shooting his crossbow. Like,
yeah. I think what you said about Borderlands is a really happy kind of in between kind of
Especially
thing.
because they have them sectioned off where you have to like hit the big loading area. Like you've got a nice large area you can kind of go explore, but if you need to go out a little bit farther, there's going to be a loading screen. You're going to go somewhere new.
Yeah, exactly.
that was I'll throw up your Borderlands cosplay here. Krieg. Yeah.
Love
Krieg's
Krieg.
a good one.
While we're talking about
Uh,
Borderlands.
I I've got a really unique one, I think. I know how much people love Ocarina of Time. I know how much I know how iconic Link's Ocarina is in general. What if we did like a rhythm-based Zelda
Ooh.
game where, like the controller, like I don't know if you guys remember back in the day on the GameCube, they had Donkey Konga,
Yeah,
where
yeah.
you got the little like bongo set.
But with an
If
ocarina.
the controller was like an ocarina, and it was just like, you could do it like Guitar Hero style. You don't even have to necessarily have it up to your mouth. You could have it in your hand, and like it would be roughly Joy-Con sized. It would work pretty well.
Yeah.
And you just have like different directions or color buttons or whatever. Excuse me. And I think the nice way to kind of like loop that in with all of Nintendo is you have it be Zelda themed, but all of the songs in the game are like themes or songs from other Nintendo products.
Okay, yeah.
So you kind of like the whole overarching thing is Zelda themed, but all of the music is fully Nintendo so that it incorporates everybody.
I think there's so many different instruments in the Zelda world too that you could have such like a good variety of
Yeah, open it up,
like
do like a
sound.
full band. You could have like the 4 pieces. Like I know that Rock
Yeah,
Band used to do the drums, guitar, bass, and
yeah,
vocals.
Yeah, instead of
So
like Rock Band, it would be like Goron Band.
yeah.
Deku Band.
Thank you.
Echo band.
What would be your Zelda based theme or your Zelda themed band name if you were to do like a Goron Band like group? So I'm thinking Deku Smash would be a pretty good fucking name.
Deku Smash. That's good. I don't know. There's so many like good things it could be.
Deku Smash, Big Goron
What
Sword would
kind of
also be a good one.
so what kind of music does Deku Smash play?
Deku Smash would be like a pop. I want to say like pop rock or like pop punk kind of deal. You definitely
You can
see.
get on
Uh,
board with that.
I
Yeah.
was gonna say I think my like pop punk emo band that's Zelda themed would be Water Temple Tears.
Water
Ooh,
Temple Tears. That's a good one.
I like it.
I think the Gorons would play like super heavy metal,
Yeah.
like or like progressive metal or something like that.
Sorry, I'm just picturing Hot Topic Gorons with like prog rock fucking get up just. And you know what? I love it. I absolutely love it. That's definitely going to be in an art commission for me.
Yeah.
Just all right. I need some Goron bands. Yeah, I really like the idea of the rhythm game. You're right, Terry. That is pretty unique.
And you could even like customize like your band with like different Zelda characters because like that's what Rock Band used to do, right? It was like as you went,
Yeah.
you unlocked new people and you could kind of like change who was in your band.
It kind of this is gonna be like an obscure reference. I feel like. Are you guys familiar with Mario Party 3 for the Nintendo 64?
Oh yeah,
Yep.
Do you remember that stupid drum game, the beat one that was super super difficult to do?
Yep.
yeah.
Yep.
Giving like vibes like that, which I love that game. Now that I'm good at it, decent at it, but I would
Now
love.
that I know how frames work and I hit buttons at the right time.
Yeah, exactly.
Mac, Goron singing gospel music. Love it.
Gospel music.
I feel like that would be like you'd have like your gospel rock would be like Zelda and like the in the Temple of Time kind of deal.
Do you have a moment to talk about our Lord and Savior Zelda?
I guess since you were nice enough to
talk-
come and do this whole podcast for us, I guess I can take a
Can
moment.
we talk
Just
about Nehru's flame just for a minute?
Yeah.
Please sit down. Speaking of like Zelda theories, do you have any weird like yeah, there's plenty of like weird Zelda theories and
Yep.
headcanon and everything. What is your personal favorite like headcanon or weird theory for Zelda?
I
so
think
while
I
you
really.
sorry, what do
No,
you think about this, Doug? The video you sent me last night is straight up just fucking wrong. That guy doesn't know what he's talking about.
What video?
I've been sent that by so many people. The fucking Cubone.
Oh yes.
It's straight up wrong. It's been disproven. They talk about it they talk about it in his Dex entry. It's straight up not a Charizard. People need to stop sending me this fucking video because it's wrong.
is that Cubone's like really depressing backstory? I'm not super familiar,
So it's
but
this guy's new like this guy on this podcast. I've seen this video from like 30 people now. It's this headcanon that Cubone, the skull that Cubone wears, is the skull of a dead Charizard. Like that is its mom. Except it's
okay.
been confirmed that its mom is Marowak, and that it's a cyclical thing.
Mm-hmm.
Harry, you have some really strong feelings about this.
It's in a Dex entry, like it's in the game. I just don't know why people get these headcanons when it's canon.
Because it's fun to be weird, Terry.
It's fun. We are entitled to our wrong opinion, okay?
You are, but it's one thing to have it's one thing to have a headcanon. It's another thing to take your headcanon and express it as fact, the way this person has been doing.
Yeah, okay, fair play.
Because now you are taking all these people who do not know and you're giving them incorrect information that
Right.
the company has already established.
Yeah,
So-
okay. Fair
so-
enough.
That's where the passion comes from. I work in professional wrestling, so like people have odd characters or whatever their backstories or whatever. Like I don't have to agree with whatever is out there, and I don't have a problem with that. I had no problem with people liking what they like. It's when you take that and you amplify it and you project your opinion as fact when that fact is not fact.
Just keep it as a headcanon and accept it for what it is, essentially.
Or at least if you're gonna put out videos of it and stuff like that, tag it. This is the headcanon.
Yep.
Or whatever. It's not. This is not expressly Nintendo saying this.
Mhm.
Just a small airing my grievance thing. I'm really involved with the COD community right now because of like our TikToks involving like Ghost, Kolnick, Price, and all that.
Mm-hmm.
And I love headcanons that people have. That's not my issue. My issue is that everyone keeps telling me that Kolnig is 6'10", and he's not. There is no canon play. He's literally an operator that people went crazy over because he's a tall boy with anxiety, and I love him too. But the amount of people that will like comment and be like, actually, Kolnig is this, or actually goes, and they're not, okay? I went through an obsessive phase with COD. I know what's actually presented to me. And I don't have any problem with people like with the headcanons. I just have a problem with people projecting those headcanons very aggressively onto cosplayers. Like even like a couple of people, just me and my friend who dresses up as Kolnick, like being in the same TikTok together. Like it's goofball shit, right? It's literally the silliest stuff, but people will like message us and be like, well, actually, like Kolnig is from this part and Ghost is from this, and they would know. It's a fictional character. They're in the same car because I say they're in the same car, kind of thing. But people can get really aggressive with how passionately they push their headcanons on cosplayers, especially on things like TikTok. And I've seen a lot of like people talking about it recently, and just where I've had it done to me a lot recently. It's just that's my vent. That's my airing my grievances about pushy headcanons as well.
Yeah, and again, it's the big thing is it's like love the things you love. Create stories for them. I remember being young and being like, hey, I'm gonna write a book or a story around, whatever fictional characters. And like maybe someday it will do something, who knows? But it's when you like try and take those things, it's just again like if it was intended to be out there, it would be out there. There's a reason sometimes things are left vague.
But I do like no, probably not quite what you meant by it, but that kind of made me think like if you want that story to be out there, make it, right? Like so
Yeah.
if it's not on Shay and her friends to make your headcanon reality, if it's your headcanon, it's your theory, and you feel that passionately about it, make it.
And
Right.
if you want to make fan fiction, like I am fan fiction trash. I spend all my time on Archive Your Own, Wattpad, like all that stuff. I love fan fiction. It's just exactly like you said. I'm not in your mind. I don't know that you want Ghost and Soap to be banging in the back of the wherever they are. Okay, look, I would be happy if that happened too, but that's not my responsibility to make.
Yeah, Call of Duty didn't say that they're doing it, so to me, they're not doing it yet.
Exactly.
So what's your best fan fiction that you've read then?
Oh, don't out me like that. None of them are like.
Well, okay.
So
they're not.
So I'm gonna give the judicious answer here because I'll take the heat for all the bad answers because I said Zelda was overrated when we brought on a Zelda cosplay streamer, so I'll take all the
He's gonna
heat
say
here.
Twilight.
Technically, 50 Shades of Grey is the fan fiction there, Doug. if we're
Mhm.
gonna get real into that. No, well, I think the line was gonna be there. None of those fan fictions are good. They're readable. No, I'm just kidding. No, yeah, I can only imagine how hard it's gonna be to pick a single fan fiction
Well,
of all the ones.
I've
There's a rather it, kind of like going into what you said. There's a handful of them that are genuinely good.
Yeah.
Super obscure. The movie Red Eye by Wes Craven.
Yep.
Love that movie. Super obsessed with it for years. Somebody rewrote that. Only the main villain survives afterwards and comes back, and it's like a whole ploy of like the people that he tried to assassinate were like it was a whole thing, and there's like 76 chapters of it, but it was written very, very well, and it was very canon to the people in the movies. So stuff like that, like I'm all over it. It was enjoyable, it was written well, it matched the movie. And then there's like spicy kind of 50 Shades of Grey-esque fan fiction that I like, not necessarily because it's super good, just because I like the idea of Ghost and Soap kissing, and that's just how it has to be. So
Isn't that part of the appeal of fan fiction though? Like you go into it knowing there is a very real chance it's not going to be great, but it's like going to see a B movie. Like that's just part of the
Exactly.
charm. You know that it's gonna be kind of cringy and awkward and the punctuation's gonna be weird, but you're down for it. You're in that mood.
yeah.
Absolutely. Not everything has to be like a 5-star book. Sometimes I
Yeah.
just want some. Sometimes I just like to be cringe. Being cringe is fun sometimes.
Sometimes you just want your sexy ghost.
So there was one that I read that was like it's not great. It's not great, but it was one of the more fun one that I read. It was quite obviously like an author insert like I'm the smartest person alive. This is how I would solve all the problems.
Right.
But it was Harry Potter mixed with Jurassic Park. So Harry going to Hogwarts with like his Patronus is a Velociraptor, and it's so fucking good.
Okay, so on the topic of Harry Potter fan fiction, are you guys aware of the cursed Harry Potter fan fiction?
No. Terry might be. I don't know. He's the Harry Potter guy.
I'm gonna need a little more explanation to make sure that I know what you're talking about.
So I've never read it because it was described to me as completely cursed, and I'm not going down that route. But it was a Harry Potter fan fiction that went viral, I think, on Tumblr. Viral. It was
Yeah.
big on Tumblr, and it was like a lot of sex, and it was a lot of weirdness, and it got totally out of control. Like the writer just went like off base completely with it, and I
I've
just know it's
heard of it. I don't think I've ever read any of it.
never endeavored into it.
I don't think it's necessarily been for lack of trying. I just don't think I've ever found it. I've never searched hard for it, but like Tumblr was never my thing. So like if I'm looking for it, I'm looking for it through like Google searches or
Right.
whatever, and you gotta like find your X degrees of separation. Then you gotta confirm you're looking at the right thing.
Yeah.
I think my favorite like nod to fan fiction was in Supernatural. I think it was season 4. Supernatural. Dean and Sam find out that there's the prophet Chuck, who has been writing the Supernatural books, and the Supernatural books are literal episodes of Supernatural.
Right.
That was a very good fourth wall break
It
for
was so good.
a mid-level show.
And they were actually shouting out actual fanfic authors
Oh, that's
and their
awesome.
stories, but they're going through and they're like, "What's slash fic?" And
Yeah.
and Sam's like, "Don't look at it. Don't look at it." He's like,
Oh.
"They know we're brothers, right?" They're like, They don't care." Like,
So to
like-
bring that into reality a little bit, the COD community is full of smut and
Oh, yeah.
like R-rated well, the voice actors and the
What community is not full of that stuff, though?
very true. The voice actors became self-aware of it recently, and
Oh.
they're like, "Oh, I heard you guys have fan fictions," and the fans said, "Oh my god, nobody tell them about Archive Your Own." And then they went and found Archive Your Own. So now all the COD actors are harshly aware of all the super weird, like smut fan fiction about them.
Oh, those poor individuals.
100%.
There was a smutty supernatural fan fiction where it's slash carfic. So
Like
yeah,
Dean.
Dean
In the
as
car.
Dean in the car, Sam as the car. Yeah.
Oh, so it's not just a car.
No, it's
It's
not
like
just the car. It's
So
because
we've gotten like full Christine with it.
yeah, because there was an episode of Supernatural where Sam is briefly turned into the car,
Right,
like
right,
Knight Rider.
yes.
I
So
thought somebody saw that episode of My Strange Addiction where Buddy was like addicted to his car and was like Sam and Dean, perfect.
No, they saw the prompt. Sam is car, Dean is inside him, and ran with it. So it's
I kind of appreciate it. I appreciate the creativity and passion that's there for.
Max says that the My Little Pony fandom is not full of smut. Um, Mac is innocent, and he lives on the innocent corners of the internet.
I feel like it's filled with worse than smut. I feel like it's a whole other level.
Yeah, there's a lot of bleach needed if you Google My Little Pony. Just,
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, that is a slippery slope.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say what it's slippery with because I don't even want to know.
Well, that was when we had our friend Aptots on here, and we were mentioning My Little Pony for whatever reason. Again, the second time in a row. But we had to look up what pony he would be, and we found Tartan Hoof. But that was one thing that I was like, okay, need to
Yeah, there's a
absolutely
legitimate
make
Scottish
sure
pony.
that my window doesn't show up on stream when I Google My Little Pony at all, because who knows what's going to come up.
Right.
But yeah, there's a Scottish pony named Tartan Hoof, which is fucking great.
Do you guys remember My Little Pony Apocalypse Pony? Punishment Time for Our Sins.
No, I haven't seen that.
I am familiar with Robot Chicken. Yes, I am. Seth Green is a master.
Oh my
It's
god.
literally just like a whole skit about like My Little Pony Apocalypse Pony Punishment Time.
Pestilence Pony is my favorite.
Yeah.
Oh god. I've got so much catching up to do.
Oh, that's that's like old school Robot Chicken. And
Yeah.
apparently Robot Chicken is still making episodes.
Really?
Robot Chicken's been going since I was in university. That's
Robot Chicken is still going strong. Seth Green is just killing it.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, when you can't be Scott Evil, you have to do something else.
I just recently rewatched all the Austin Powers movies, and I've heard rumors that Mike Myers has said that he's like wants to work on or has been in the process of making another. I don't know how true that is, but
I mean, so I would love, deep down, would love another Austin Powers movie. But let's face it, the three that are there have not aged the greatest as far as some comedy movies go.
yeah.
I understand that they're also portraying movies that themselves did not necessarily age well. Here's looking at you, James Bond.
Right.
But again, big James Bond fan, love James Bond. He treated people awfully, and very racist, and just
Right.
shit person. James Bond, not a good guy.
Yeah.
He's
so
a
like
trained
I get
killer. Come on.
it's true. He is a trained killer, not gonna be a good guy. So as much as I would love for there to be another Austin Powers movie, how do you even effectively, in this day and age, in 2023, how do you do an Austin Powers movie with any level of effectiveness? And I mean, even Space Jam, when they remade Space Jam, they had to take out Pepe Le Pew, and they basically they had a scene addressing him being a pervy individual. It's like there are so many things you just can't get away with that you could back in the day.
We're getting deep into the Space Jam lore with this episode.
Yeah.
You'd have to either do what Space Jam did and mediate and try to fix, or you would go the Sausage Party route and just
go.
like,
Just jump the shark.
yeah, like just fuck what anyone says. We're just gonna do it all over again.
I think that's the way you'd have to go, because like even in the other, like in the second movie, that's basically what that is. Like he gets mediated out and he winds up being all right, and then he gets to the end of the movie and she dies. And he's like, well, I guess I'm back.
Oh, I was gonna ask because you don't play much tabletop, right? I don't think you play much
Very,
D&D.
I dabble. I'll call it that.
So one of the things that I like doing is making my own tabletop games, right? So like I did the TMNT thing. We did a Pokemon one. Um, so if I were to make like a tabletop version of Zelda, of the Zelda franchise, who would you want to play as, and what setting? Because there's like a bunch of different eras. So what do you think would be the best setting for a tabletop like experience in it?
I think, well, honestly, I don't know. I think any of the settings could work. Like, even because, like, most of the games kind of follow I shouldn't say most of them, they follow the routine of, like, Hyrule is peaceful, and then Ganondorf, Demise, whoever comes in, and it kind of gets, like, overrun with evil. So I think any of the settings could work in terms of having, like, a good story. I'd want to be Groose personally from Skyward Sword, the guy with like the big red sticky up, the bully. I think he's such a lovable big lug of a character. Like,
That would be great. So let's see. I'm trying to remember him super well. Would you say he'd be like you could play him like a barbarian or a ranger kind of character?
literally barbarian, like
Yeah.
through and through. Is
Had to really resist the urge to be a trolly piece of shit and say I want to be Cloud.
we'll let you be Cloud just because of the troll factor of it.
I feel like that would be really funny in a Zelda campaign, just to have Cloud in the background, just big swords. Like, why is he here? Big sword.
Big sword. On the topic of Final Fantasy, the first Final Fantasy game I ever played was Crisis Core for the PSP. Completely unfamiliar with how Final Fantasy worked. I got to the second last boss of the game, could not beat him. Like, no matter what I did, no matter how many times I tried. So I took it to a friend of mine to beat for me, and he was like, "Oh, well, did you level up?" And I was like, "Well, no, I don't. What do you mean level up?" And he's like, "Well, you have to upgrade. You go do like these side challenges." And I was like, "Oh yeah, no, I didn't do any of those. I was like at the end of the game at like level 3 and
Oh my
functionally
god.
could not beat this boss."
That was
And
it reminded me of I came out and I
Don't even
saw
get your interrupt to level 4. God.
yeah.
yeah, I came out and I was watching my daughter playing Horizon, like the original one. And like she's halfway through the game at this point, fighting the whatever the T-Rex thing was called. And I was like, man, you're and then she killed it and it dropped like a purple bow and I was like, oh, what are you rocking that you didn't even look at the purple bow? And she's like, what do you mean? I'm like, open up your inventory for me. She's like, how do you do that?
Whites. All whites. Oh!
She had never opened the inventory, didn't know how to like change equipment, didn't know she could change equipment, had played over half of the game and beaten over half the game with the starter gear.
That's incredibly impressive.
Right?
Could you imagine
And then
playing something like Dark Souls
yeah,
and getting all the way to the last boss and finding out you could change your
like
sword?
I
How
know
fucking mad you would be.
Twitch dudes love doing like make it harder challenges like that. And like I don't think I've
Yeah.
seen anyone even attempt to do that.
Yeah.
Hey, on Dark Souls,
on Dark Souls or on Horizon. Like
there's a stream. I'm almost certain there's a streamer that played through Dark Souls in only his underpants.
Oh, that's a big thing. Naked runs in Dark Souls.
oh
That's
yeah,
a
yeah.
hugely common thing. The level 1 runs are a big thing. Speed runs are a big thing. Dark Souls. The Dark Souls community is really cool at coming up with new ways to make a hard game even harder.
Yeah,
But yeah, I couldn't believe that though. I was like, and then she switched out of gear, went and killed something. She's like, oh, this is so much easier. Like
this is so much.
You one
don't
hit
say.
everything in sight, just like, oh my god, I have power.
Yeah,
I really like 100%ing the Tomb Raider games. I'm a huge fan of Tomb Raider games. and I was playing through the ones on the Xbox 360, so Anniversary, Legend, and Underworld. Anniversary specifically, they're when you're 100%ing it, you can unlock an achievement that gets you a golden shotgun. I was like, oh, okay, it's literally a gold-plated shotgun. I'm not even going to bother with that. So I went through all the other achievements. It was incredibly difficult. It took forever, only to find out that the golden shotgun will one-shot kill any enemy. So it cuts down your, like, time runs by, like, half.
Yep.
And if I would have just gone and done it, but I didn't, I thought it was a gold-plated shotgun. I wasted all that time for no reason.
Amazing. I had to throw up your Tomb Raider cosplay on the thing as well.
I would love to do another Tomb Raider I don't know. There's something that's just not jiving with me with the last time I did it. I find it really hard to cosplay characters that are Lara Croft shaped. I don't know. There's only so much you can do to your body to make it look in-game accurate, so it's a hard... She's a hard character to come at.
I mean, it's super hard to make your boobs triangular when they're just not that. It's like straight up, I can imagine the difficulty. I'm thinking about it in my head, and it's just like, how do you turn from this to like this? Like, it doesn't work.
Cardboard
Get like
boxes.
a piece of cardboard and like bend it and just like shove it
There
up.
you go. There you go. But you see, that's the thing, is you could just have like one straight piece too, because like I guess they do have the cutout, so you would have to cut it. Yeah, that's the rough part.
Just paint the cardboard and you're
Just
golden.
paint the card.
Yeah.
So, do you have any upcoming cosplays that you're going to be doing that you've got on the books, or any that you would like to do?
So I'm trying to do like a lot of prep for this because the closest thing to an armor build that I've done was Kratos, my female version of God of War. But I'm either going to do the Gears of War armor or actually Master Chief. I desperately, even though I haven't played through a lot of the games, I love Master Chief, and I have a friend who has a Cortana cosplay.
Mm-hmm.
And I would love to be able to get like stilts going and be like that giant 6-foot hulking, like full armor Master Chief.
You're gonna be a little taller than that. He's 6 meters tall.
Oh, 6 meters?
Something ridiculously. He's like 10 feet. Spartans canonically are like 10 feet tall.
Are you
They
serious?
So they go through medical augmentation that flat out like changes their bone structure and everything. At the age of 12, they look like they are like prime Olympic athletes, and they keep
Right.
growing because they go through puberty on top of that.
Yeah,
So-
I think you're thinking 10 feet because that would put them at that would put them at like 3.3 meters.
Or sorry, yeah, they're about 10 feet tall, about 3 meters tall. Yeah.
So I'm blanking on the names. The ODST?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the ODST troopers, Buck, he winds up being shorter because he doesn't go through the augmentations as a child. He goes through them as an adult. He
Who
doesn't
are
get double pubertied.
Who are the ones that the soldiers are fighting against? They have like really weird like mouth alien. I'm butchering this.
Covenant?
The Covenant, yes. So in proportion to the Covenant, are the Covenants just also really, really massive?
So elites, the Sangheili, they are canonically around that like 8 foot ish,
Okay.
7 to 8 foot ish, big, but they kind of naturally hulk and
Yep.
bend. So if they stand straight up, it's kind of like they meet the same eye level.
Okay, gotcha.
I always found that hilarious that like so 40K has the Warhammer, like the Space Marines, who are the same as the Halo Space Marines in that they're much bigger than your average soldier.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're talking, these are supposed to be like void-bound warriors, spend a lot of time in space. The optimal size for someone isn't massive; it's tiny. Like
Right.
Terry would be the best person to have in space because you could fit him in all the little like corridors and stuff.
Yeah.
That's why you have little people on submarines, right? You have to build less submarine if everyone's little. It's more cost effective. So
So with
your super soldiers should be tiny.
So your
with
little guys that you're thinking of in your little masks, those are grunts.
oh, okay.
They stand about a meter high, but that triangular thing that's on their back is actually a gas tank.
Oh, okay.
So in Halo 3, they made it shootable, and that's because canonically, grunts don't breathe oxygen, they breathe methane. So that backpack is full of a methane mixture that allows them to breathe and go out in combat.
Right.
So the reason that there's that little point that sticks up above them is because that backpack is sitting higher up already. That's not actually part of their body.
Right.
Anyway, it's
Um,
just
a really quick side question about Warhammer. Can you give me a? This is a loaded question, I'm sure, but Caiaphas Cain. I don't know anything about him. I saw him on the cover of a book, and I bought the book because he looks super cool. I'm just curious if you can like enlighten me a little.
so Cyphus Kane is he's kind of like, I haven't read too many Cyphus Kane books, but he is fantastic. He's a commissar, but he's one of the few like realistic people in 40k. He's the one of the few people that has like genre awareness, that he's just
Okay.
like, this sucks. Everything about this sucks and we're gonna die. I need to get out of here. Right?
Right.
Like, he's one of the only other people. Everybody else is like, for the Emperor, we'll fight to the death. And he's like, no, this is shit. Like, so he's great. But yeah, the commissars, the deal with them in 40k is that they're like, they go to the Scala Progenum when they're young. They're like, think of them as like farming orphans and sending them off to the Royal Military College, like
Oh, okay.
at the age of 5, and that's what they become. They either become commissars or they become stormtroopers, depending on where their talents lead. And the commissars are very much like World War II commissars, which you'd be familiar with.
Yep.
That they shoot their own troops as much as they shoot the enemy. Right.
Gotcha. Very, very Stalinist vibe with that, I think.
Yeah, and they're fantastic with it. Like that's where the whole commissar design and philosophy came from, was the Stalin-esque commissars. But he's one of the ones that is like commissars also have the same type of like lethality. Like, I've read a bunch of stories where it's literally the troops conspiring to work with the commissar until the mission is done, and then he miraculously doesn't make it back either. Like, yeah, he meets a stray round coming from behind. Like,
Oh no.
yeah, so they have a pretty high death rate, but Kane has somehow managed to live through like 25 books, because he has that genre awareness where he's just like, nope, and he's generally
It's
good.
terrible.
Yeah,
He knows he's the red shirt, so he stands in the back.
Yeah, exactly.
100%. He just constantly trying to get out of the war.
Right.
So it's great. I don't know if you've ever seen Blackadder.
No.
So there's an old Rowan Atkinson TV series called Blackadder, and the 4th series of it takes place in the trenches of World War One. And he is a British officer in the trenches, just constantly trying to get out of the trenches. And it's fucking great. I highly recommend watching it. It's from like, I want to say the 80s, early 90s.
Okay.
But yeah, so good. Like, because that's actually where I first saw Hugh Laurie before he was in House. He was a very excitable British officer in Blackadder Goes Forth. But
That would track. That would track well.
oh my god, it's so good.
We got time for one more, Doug. One more.
I think we might have answered all of the questions. Although you never actually said what's your favorite headcanon for Zelda. We got super sidetracked.
So, have you guys played Majora's Mask?
Yep.
No.
So I hated Majora's Mask when I was a kid because it has that stupid fucking time limit that's constantly counting down for your 3 days.
It gave me anxiety like nothing else.
100%. Like you have to get all this stuff done at once and then go to the temples, beat it, all the while this giant moon with a Cheshire grin is like impending down on you to squish you. I'm not built for that kind of stress. But I recently gave it another shot and I find it's probably one of my top Zelda games now. It's so unique, and one of the big headcanons I've seen is one, that the Majora's Mask game represents the stages of grief, and two, that the Deku Butler's son is the dead Deku Sprout that you see at the
Yeah.
beginning of the game. Because you see him weeping over it at the end of the game, and he references like his son never coming back. But the stages of grief specifically, I really like. I can't remember exactly what they are right now, but like each one kind of like the Deku shrub represents like one of them, and I think like the Zora represents like denial and stuff like that. And I think that's my all time. It kind of, now I don't know how true this is actually. This is something that I've just heard, but in Halo, I've heard that, so from my understanding throughout the games, Cortana kind of starts degrading as time goes.
It's addressed a lot more clearly in the books, but essentially what happens is Cortana is a piece of software that will learn forever and ever.
Right.
The average life expectancy of an AI is of a smart AI in the Halo universe, because there are smart and dumb AIs. I won't get into that. She's a smart AI. The average lifespan is around 7 years.
Okay.
She absorbs so much information that is degraded to around 2.5 years. While
Okay.
she's on Halo in the very first game.
Okay.
And she goes into what is called rampancy,
Mhm.
where she begins to split off into subroutines and do all these other things that most AIs normally wouldn't do.
Right.
So yeah, it's a big part of the game lore as well, that is just addressed much more, again, more clearly in the books as to what's going on. But yeah, essentially what happens is she takes on so much information that she essentially begins to think herself to death and fail.
So now I've heard that story kind of came from somebody, I don't know who it was that was involved, but it was their struggle with losing their partner to Alzheimer's. The gradual kind of, and like they kind of took that and used it as inspiration for the story. I don't want to say that's true. This is just kind of like a myth that I've heard.
Yeah, I'd
But
have to do some more digging into that, to be honest, because it's one of those weird things, like when you're writing supplemental material for
mhm,
something like a video game where so much is left open at the end of it, or like
yeah,
creating an expanded universe for Star Wars where like you've only told this story, but we know how much more is out there.
right,
The really big thing with that is I would have to do some cross-referencing and research to see whether or not the rampancy comes from the game's overall intended storyline that was mapped out as a trilogy or whatever, or if that was something that was not in the original game, where supplemental things were written and they really liked the idea, so they decided to incorporate it. So
right.
it's just a matter of finding out where that idea comes from in the first place as to the authenticity of that kind of story. However, that is something that I could very much see with the way that rampancy is portrayed throughout the game and the novels.
Yeah,
Um, it's very much uh, degenerative very quickly, but with moments of great clarity.
And
There's
devastating
the
to the people that care about you.
Yeah, there's the bipolar aspects of the various quick mood swings, and then that when you do come back, that not realization of what has necessarily happened.
yeah. And then
There's a lot in there that leads me to believe that it's a very plausible way that came about into the story.
and that's why I'm so like hesitant about, like, I never want to say that's true, because if it was something that happened to like one of the developers, I definitely want to be extremely respectful of like where that story came from and like stuff like that. And it's a rumor that I heard, I guess, and it does heavily remind me of like the doom and gloom of Majora's Mask. Like that whole game is just like doom incarnate. Like everybody's gonna die. The people of Clocktown aren't even in denial about it. They're just very much like, yeah, we're gonna die in 3 days. And like it also shows like a really, I think, accurate part of humanity where like everyone's like, we're gonna die, and then the official like council or government of Clocktown is like, no, we're not gonna die. We can't, like the denial of it and the stuff like that. It's just Majora's Mask had a lot of like really heavy stuff in it, and the headcanons that go along with that are really, really good, I think.
Yeah, that was one that I was very much the same as you, was that I never really got deep into it as a kid. My brother beat it like a million times. He loved it. It was his favorite. But me, it just gave me such, even just watching him play it, gave me such secondhand anxiety that
Yeah.
I couldn't deal. I could not deal with it at all. Like,
So was that like because like I've never found them super compelling. I've never played a lot of them, or at least never to completion of the ones that I have. The ones I play usually are to completion. Is Majora's Mask the only Zelda's game that offers that time constraint factor within it?
Yep. It's definitely like an outlier of Zelda, and just like Doug and I have said, like people either love it or they hate it. I have heard a lot of people say that as they get older, they kind of appreciate it more, probably because it does deal with like a lot of really mature themes that were, I don't know about other people, but they were completely lost to me when I was a kid. I was like, I don't know why y'all are so upset. It's just a moon crashing down and killing all of you. And now that I'm older, I'm like, oh, yeah. That makes sense.
yeah.
Themes aside, knowing that Nintendo is a Japanese company and that games in Japan just tend to be harder than they are here, do you think Majora's Mask was kind of like a taste for American audiences of what gaming is in other parts of the world? And do you think that also plays into like the polarizing aspect of it?
I would think so. I found Majora's Mask like extremely difficult. Not quite as difficult as Zelda 2, which was just like an onslaught of disrespect.
Yeah.
But like it's a lot more difficult compared to any of the other 3D Zelda games. Even Twilight Princess wasn't nearly as difficult, I think.
I actually beat Zelda 2 on the old Nintendo, but it took me literal years.
You're built different, Doug. I'm not gonna lie. I couldn't.
How many Dark Souls games have you beat?
None, absolutely none. Because I'm not.
I see that you own a bunch of them because like I constantly like go through and wish list them, and like maybe someday I'll suffer. Today's not that day.
Yeah, no, I've gotten to that point in my life where I'm like, by the time that I get to game, I don't want to spend frustrated and angry, so
right.
I generally play games that I'm like, I'm either super into or just are to relax. With the exception of Zomboid. Zomboid I play to get frustrated and hate myself.
What about XCOM, Doug? You play XCOM to relax?
If I can get XCOM to open, it's been such a dick to me lately.
Yeah, just doesn't like you.
No. But yeah, I don't know. I found there are people that love those frustrating games, and all the power to them. But I don't have it in me. like,
Underappreciated, frustrating game. The Nancy Drew series.
okay.
Disrespectfully difficult. I played those when I was a kid, and I use the term played very loosely. I wandered around and like tried to figure stuff out. But a couple weeks ago, I was like, no, you know what? I'm a big kid. I can probably No, I can't. It's extremely difficult. Like the game.
Here, I'm even gonna go out on a limb here, and I'm gonna say games that are made for kids are intentionally hard for adults because we do not think the way kids think.
Yeah.
We don't.
Right.
I constantly, when I go back and I play old Lego games that I played as a kid, I would play it through the game. I'd be breezing through it. I'd get to a puzzle, and I'd be like, "That's how you do that," because that makes sense. Nowadays, I get to a room and I'm like, "The fuck is this?"
That's how I feel about Lego Rock Raiders. Like I used to zip through that game like nothing, and now that I'm older, I'm like, yes,
For me, it's Lego Star Wars. I
Lego
played
Star
through
Wars?
like the original, like some of the original trilogy stuff. Like some of those puzzles are just so unintuitive, and you were
Right.
like, "How did 10-year-old me
Yeah.
decide that this was how you did this?"
We
Even
used
Because I had to look it up. Like 28-year-old me had to look it up.
even Roller Coaster Tycoon is like yeah, okay, I get it. Most of it is just fun to like kill all your people and stuff like that. But to like, I
How do
think
you
there
make
is a
money
way.
if you kill all the people, guys?
It's funny. I think there is a way that you're supposed to beat that game. I just have no idea how to execute it. It's super
You
hard to
make
do.
money. You're supposed to make money and do well, and like you're right, nobody does that. It's not the
No.
fun. It's not the fun part of the game.
Yeah, why do that when you can charge your guests $20 a ticket to slingshot them back outside the park? But
That's how you make real money.
yeah.
Sorry, I forgot to stamp your hand last time. That'll be another 20 on the way in.
That's such a weird part of our history. Like I remember getting Roller Coaster Tycoon 1 on a CD in a cereal box.
Yeah.
Yep. I remember playing Monopoly, Game of Life. I remember getting the CD
Yep.
box games.
Yeah.
Great,
I
now
would-
I want Cinnamon Toast Crunch, Doug. God damn it.
Get your Amazon order in again.
Oh no, it's downstairs. Now I know what I'm having for dinner.
Yeah. Now, oh god, what was the super hard? Oh, Skylanders. So I used to play Skylanders
Yeah.
with my kid, and
Nerd.
we'd oh, it was so much fun for us. Like literally going out and finding the figures and stuff for it. I loved it.
Yeah.
I worked at Toys R Us. I had discount Skylanders at my fingertips.
Yeah.
And I never fucking understood.
You know,
I
it's
was
actually a really
mad.
good
You know
game.
what? You know what I was mad about, Doug, more than anything? I was a huge Spyro fan growing up. I got 3 fantastic Spyro games growing up. And then nothing but years and years of disappointment. And then I see my boy Spyro, and they fucking massacred my boy Doug. They bring back Spyro and they give me fucking Skylanders.
Don't knock it. It was a good game. It was a good game.
No, it's like
But
hey, I've seen plenty of gameplay.
there was
I had friends who were super into it, and which I found weird at the age we were at. But again, people like what they like. No judgment.
what I liked about it was the fact that my daughter could be playing, and then she needed help. I could just pick up a controller, and I was
Yeah.
in. And
You
then
see, that's why I
I
like
could
the
put the
Lego
controller down, and my character was gone. It was the like very drop in, drop out co-op, and they did that really well.
Yeah.
I think specifically for that reason. But one of the one of the things about that is I would help her with the action part of it because she wasn't as quick with like fighting enemies and stuff. So I'd help her with that. When it came to puzzles and stuff, yeah, she actually normally did that for me. I'm like, I don't know how to get around this. I'm sorry. I'm like, I'm not dumb, but yeah,
Just I'm more of a brute force helper as opposed to the yeah.
I mean, your current line of work would line up with that line of thinking.
Look,
If I can't figure out how to get around the wall, we will simply blow a hole in
We'll
it.
go through it.
the inventory has taught me brute force and ignorance will solve any technical issue.
Do you guys have you guys ever watched Bleach?
It's still on my list. I still haven't watched it yet.
One of Kenpachi Zaraki's main quotes is, if violence isn't solving your problem, you're not using enough of it. And I feel like that also represents the infantry fairly well.
That's great. I need that as a tattoo, to be honest.
To like right across like your full chest, like just huge.
Yeah.
I get it now. I've been thinking for a while that you remind me of someone, Doug, and I haven't been able to put it together, but now I finally got it. You're the fucking demolitions dude from Atlantis.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
You could also be the soldier from Team Fortress 2.
True. Both very handsome individuals. But
Hey, at least I didn't call you Mole. Could have called you Mole.
no. I think that just about brings us to a natural end, though. I'd just like to thank you
It's-
again for showing up and talking with
Yeah.
us, Shay. Getting all dressed
No,
up.
thanks for dressed up till like the bottoms. I just have leggings on. I was too lazy to put the whole dress.
See,
But
that's
Nah,
I went the
no.
other way. I went waist down cosplay. I don't know why.
show us the
so
tail, Doug. Show us the tail. Just like lift up the tip of the tail. Like, don't actually show us the face. That's a scary thought.
you're gonna get a tail. Oh my god.
It's all the way from the other room. Tied around his waist.
There we go. So this is an actual like mermaid tail, like onesie kind
Why
of deal.
didn't you just wear that the whole time?
How do you know I wasn't?
Because you just picked it up and got it, dumbass.
Terry went through the effort of putting on a onesie underneath his
It
shirt.
was literally right there too. Like,
The
you could
disrespect.
have gotten up and gotten it.
You said tail, and it reminded me. I'm like, oh, I do have a tail. Okay.
I do.
Piece of shit. Absolute piece of shit.
Trail. I feel
Can't believe I gotta come back for 2 more days of this.
Terry, I think you'll be applicable for workers' comp after the next couple days, so at least there's that.
I need to talk to HR about some bullying.
Go get Sarah. She can be the HR, I guess. She'd be a good HR manager.
I mean, yeah, I could.
Conflict of interest. She's married to the person I'm
Yeah.
complaining about.
So she would be so much harder on me. You're like, stop bullying Terry, you fucking piece of shit. All right, so yes, I wanted to thank you again so much for coming out. It's been a blast.
Thank you for having me and listening to me, Terry. It was nice to meet you. I've never met you before. You're
No,
lovely.
it was excellent meeting you as well. I'm happy I get to meet so many cool people doing stuff like this. Cosplay is such an interesting thing to get to sit and talk about, especially because, like I said, my exposure to cosplay is very different than your exposure to cosplay.
Right.
So, it's so interesting to see the other side of it.
I'm glad all of our communities are such like a positive space to be in, whether it's like gaming, cosplay, tabletop, like it's all just one big mixing pot of like we just love each other. We're so great. Makes me happy.
100%. And if anyone wants to check out Shay's cosplay or the pictures, you can find her Instagram at uncultured teacup with the underscore in between uncultured and teacup.
God forbid he send a link.
I'm trying. I'm good at stuff, I swear. But then, and you also have TikTok, yes?
Yes. If you want to watch us fall over a lot, TikTok is the place to go for the funnies.
Also at Uncultured Teacup.
Yes. Yep.
All right, hold on. I did actually.
Don't worry, Doug. I got you.
Thank you, buddy. I'm good. I'm good at stuff.
Doug, you're busy being like the runner of this whole thing. It's okay.
And yeah, and for anyone who's listening, our next 2 shows, just so that I can promo that over here, will be tomorrow with Ben Brainerd, I believe at I think it was 6 p.m. Eastern. Did we say? Was it 5 or 6?
We didn't say anything.
6 p.m.
I
Eastern.
was. So here's the extent of the notice I was given of times. I wasn't messaged anything. I saw the notification that said Doug showed the graphic for all the posted times, and I got to see what time I was going live on Monday and Tuesday.
At least you got like some notice, right?
You can take it up with
Man's
HR.
lucky that I block full days for him, and he knows it.
So yes, tomorrow we've got Ben Brainerd on here, 6 p.m. Eastern, and then 5 p.m. Eastern the next day. We've got my friend Eric Scouten on, who's a world-renowned mixologist and owns the bar Kakutero Lounge in St. John. So with that, we should send a raid off. Who do we got that's on today?
I've actually got nobody. That would be a reasonable target, unfortunately.
Well, we'll send you over to another lovely girl who's playing COD right now.
It's Sunday, but we're early, so I assume Pfeffers isn't up yet.
No, Fef's not up yet. But I'm going to send you guys over to Siren's Lure. Just another lovely girl that plays COD and does a little bit of cosplay herself. So let's send you over there. All right. Thank you to everyone for showing up and sticking around and chat. And hopefully we'll see you over the next 2 days as well. No?
Cool.
All right.
See you guys.
Bye.
Thank you.